Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. It's about 4 minutes after. I'd like to thank everyone for coming today to the workshop. And can everybody hear me? First of all, I got a question in the chat box about the audio. And we have a raised hand, so let's see here. Todd, can you hear me? Can everybody hear? Yes, wonderful, awesome. Getting feedback, gotta love it. So today's topic is how to start a food truck business. Very interesting topic. Real excited about this topic. We have a lot of requests for food businesses at the SBDC, and this topic is just something we decided to cover. I did it a couple years ago, back when we were actually physically meeting in person and having workshops, and decided to produce something else. And so today you will see our first version of our how to start a food truck workshop online. So I'd like to first of all recognize that I am with the SBDC, Small Business Development Center, which is a resource partner with Small Business Administration. And I'm located at South Carolina State University in my office. And it's a program that you'll find out a little bit more in the next couple slides. So food trucks, couple of housekeeping things. Feel free to drop a message in the chat or the Q&A, and we'll be checking that to see if we can answer your questions. It might not be immediately, so just be patient, and we'll definitely get to it if you put it up there in the chat or the Q&A. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started here. So if you've never heard of the SBDC, Small Business Development Centers all across the state, it's, as I mentioned, an SBA program that is there to help small business people and aspiring entrepreneurs get into business. But we also help people who are already in business across many types of issues. And so some of our services include financial management, cash flow, loans. I think, of all the people who call me, the number one, there's the two top issues generally are funding, financial management issues, and marketing. What you see are the first two here: financial management, marketing plans, social media, and e-commerce. And then, business planning is probably the third, right? And a lot of times business planning is in conjunction with starting your business. So what type of plans do you need to make to, be successful in starting your business? Or maybe, you have an existing business, you want to change some things that you're doing, creating a new plan for your business, whether it's a marketing plan or, other aspects of your business. So these are some of our core competencies. It's what we do every day, helping folks with one-on-one business consulting. The SBDC is a free service, which always goes over well with people. People ask me, well, how much are you going to charge for this valuable service? And, I always tell them it's free. Or I say the cost is, just your advocacy and, and making sure that you are engaged in the process, right? So SBDCs, you can find them all around the state. We have 21 locations and around 50 consultants or so. And all of us have different unique specialties. And so my specialty lies in, one of my specialties, I guess, is in hospitality. So I am Jim Johnson. I'm a business consultant, but I'm also the region director for the South Carolina State University region. over 20 years background in small business. I owned a medical supply company for many years, owned a restaurant for 7 years. So I've got a pretty good perspective on food trucks, although back when I was in the restaurant business, which was like '07 to 14, they're just, food trucks weren't quite as popular as they are today. So I was able to do some catering and things like that, but and you do pop-ups and things like that back then. But food trucks were a little more emerging back then. They existed in probably more urban areas, but these days they seem to be flourishing in amongst other markets. Do a lot of instruction at the colleges and universities. I'm an adjunct instructor and involved in multiple community leadership positions. So as I mentioned, hospitality is kind of a specialty area. Work in agriculture and agritourism. So if you get to talking about, farm to table, have a pretty good idea about that whole industry and have a lot of information on farms. Work with farmers daily, really. So have a lot of farm clients. Environmental sustainability. I do a lot of work in energy and especially rural energy. So I got connected to that through the USDA and have done, a bunch of work there. So it's kind of given me a little specialty in that area. And event management and property management. Been a property manager for over 20 years. So maybe one day I'll do a webinar or workshop on property management and landlording, which is always an interesting industry. So today we have in store for us a few things. First is an interview with Hector Sanchez of the Bodega Kitchen and the Jarhead Bakery. Hector is, I love, whenever I do webinars or workshops, if I can get a small business person there to talk about the industry, honestly, that's really one of the best things you can do, because it comes straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak, and you can get a good perspective of what it's like in that industry and ask questions. So did get a message from Hector today that he would be participating. I don't see where Hector's logged in yet, unless he came in as an attendee. But let me go through the rest of the agenda first. So after we have our interview with Hector, at some point we'll be talking with Hector. We'll get into startup considerations with starting a food business, legal, permitting, financial, a lot of things you have to think about with any business, but especially a food establishment, because there's so many regulations around food. People get sick, so there's a lot of oversight in the food industry. So a few more considerations than maybe other type startups. Marketing, like that's one of the, past your legal and permitting type things, and do you have the funds, startup funds together? It's the marketing, right? Where am I gonna get my customers? You always want to have a real good idea of who your customer is going to be before you start the business. So talk a little bit about marketing and how to attract customers. And then lastly, talk a little bit about operations. Some things to consider in the food business that are unique to the food business, from ordering all the way to cleaning and accounting. So this is our agenda for today. And let's see here, move on. So like to start with a few statistics and some industry trends. So growth. I got these off of the internet probably this week sometime. And it says the growth of the food truck industry is outgrowing the overall commercial restaurant industry by over 1 point. So you could, I mean, during COVID, obviously you would think that it would be outpacing restaurants because people are not opening restaurants, uh, brick and mortars right now. Banks are really not financing those type restaurants right now because they're very risky. But the alternative to your brick and mortar is, of course, a food truck. There are some other alternatives too we can discuss, but food trucks are growing and they're outpacing brick and mortar. That's the point. So that's a good indicator that could be a good possibility. Here it says the average revenue stream of a food truck is 290,000. Now this statistic, is probably a national average. Although I don't think that's totally out of the question, depending on what market that you have your food truck. I mean, 290 is achievable. You're going to have to make at 290. I mean, that's like about 24,000 or so a month. So you can back into that math and figure out about how much you need to make a week to make that and get there. But I mean, it does show that you can make a living off of that. The market says the most likely demographic to order from a food truck are 18 to 34, and followed by 35 to 44, and so 54% is 18 to 44. I'm sorry, yeah, it's 18 to 45, age 35 to 44 at 54%. So both of them together, I don't know what the statistic is, but that would be the majority of people who order from a food truck, which are likely, I mean, younger folks and working people. So whenever you're developing a strategy, a marketing strategy, you would want to take into account these age groups that come to food trucks. I would say the exception to that might be at a festival, because festivals you can get some older people out there and some real young folks. Those would be outside the parameters. So anyway, but still you would take into account probably those. And interest, over 80% of food truck users call the dining experience fun, exciting, new, and different and unique. And that's a theme that, I'd hit over and over again is unique. And we'll talk a little bit more about it, but you have to find your unique value proposition with any business that you open, and especially with food trucks, because you have to set yourself apart from the food truck down the street or any of your competition for that matter in food establishment choices. So when people perceive your business as something interesting, it may be easier to attract them to the business initially. But then your job after you attract them to your business, obviously, is to retain them and keep them coming back for more over and over, loyalty. So you convert them into a customer. That's just step one. You need to have good quality food, service, get them filled up, and hope to come back and use different techniques to keep them engaged and coming back to wherever you operate your food truck. So these are some interesting industry trends, which are positive, and another good reason to look at food trucks as an alternative to, traditional restaurants. And I think another one of the reasons that, we're doing this workshop today is because of COVID and looking at other options, for folks who had intended to maybe go into the food business, or maybe who are in the food business now are looking to kind of pivot their restaurant business, adding a food truck, getting out to the people instead of bringing people to you, right? So it's a good way to do that. Okay, let's see if I can get Hector. Let's see. I don't see Hector as a panelist. Let me see if Hector, are you on the line? I don't know if you came in as an attendee. I don't see. Don't see his name on the attendee list. Okay. Okay, I do have a question here that I'll answer while we wait a little bit, a few more minutes for him to come on. It says, do we have a food truck association in South Carolina? For example, in Los Angeles, there's a Southern California Mobile Food Vendors Association. They serve as a mentoring quality assurance organization amongst other services. So to my knowledge, there is no food truck association in South Carolina. There is, however, a restaurant and lodging association, the South Carolina Restaurant and Lodging Association. And, that'd probably fall within the Restaurant and Lodging Association because they do, I think they're the biggest, hospitality type association in the area. So, good question. Because those can be pretty powerful resources whenever you are trying to get into that industry. So I definitely check into that association. Okay, so I still don't see Hector. And so we'll move along. Hopefully I did get a confirmation from him today that he was going to be here. So hopefully nothing bad happened to him. Let's move along, and if I see Hector's name pop up here, we'll oh, hold on. Here he comes. All right, good. That was a good time. Hey, Hector.
Hey guys, sorry I came in a little late. I was a little busy.
No, you're right on time. I had a little spiel right before this, so we hit you right at a good time.
Yeah, sweet. So how's everybody doing? Hope everybody having a blessed day.
Yes, I think we're all doing good, and I think these folks are interested in what you do as a food truck operator. And so anyway, I made a list of questions that I could ask you to get a conversation going, just to start things off, and then they are able to ask questions through the chat and
of course, yes, sir.
Chat function. So Hector, let me just get started by allowing you to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you, your background, and then kind of lead into how you got started in food service.
Okay, sounds good. Hey everybody. Like I said, hope everybody having a great Thursday day. My name is Chef Hector Sanchez. I'm a 10-year veteran United States Marine Corps Infantry. I'm a chef. I co-own with my wife the Bodega Kitchen food truck and an online bakery called Jarhead Artisan Bakery that specializes in French artisan French and Italian and Spanish pastries. And yeah.
Awesome. So how did you get started in the food business?
Oh man, it's funny. I got, like I said, 10 years in the Marine Corps. I was a grunt. I was infantry. And I got medically retired for severe PTSD and TBI. And one day my wife was working. I have 2 kids, and while she was at work, I went in the kitchen one day and fell in love with it. I think PTSD. Fortunately, my injuries have brought me towards cooking, because cooking actually been my best therapy. So I guess just my injuries from the military, and one day my wife working and me getting in the kitchen and falling in love with it, because with PTSD, a lot of us vets suffer from self-esteem issues and stuff like that. And when I got in the kitchen cooking, and I actually found I could do it really good, and people were happy, that made me feel better, and actually it made me feel like I was worth something again. So yeah, so that's one of the reasons why I got into cooking.
That's awesome. Did your military career kind of take you to South Carolina or bring you to South Carolina?
Oh well, I was born in New York, but I was raised in South Carolina since I was 4. I consider myself, a local boy. Went to middle school, high school, elementary school, right in Columbia, right in Richland one. So yeah, I've been here my whole life.
Well, how do you think your military career helped you um, in food service, or helped you
Man,
start a food truck? Right? How did that experience help you? You think?
hard work, man. Being in the culinary field, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's hard work. If of course, before I got into it, I always thought, oh, cooking, that's easy, anybody could do it. I had that presumption, just like everybody, a lot of people have, until you get into that the back of the house and actually. So I guess even in the military, just hard work, long hours, crappy pay, just just like in the military. Be honest with you, and I guess it just it's because, like I said, it's a physically demanding job and a mentally demanding job too. So I guess it gave me the discipline to work hard, and even though it's hard work, you just keep on pushing.
Okay. So let's see here. Um, Tell us a little bit about when you first got started into business. I know obviously you probably thought about a couple ideas about how you can get in the restaurant business.
Yeah.
I mean, you can
Yes.
go brick and mortar. You could have gone,
Mhm.
a catering company out of commissary.
Mhm.
You could have obviously done the food truck. What
Yeah.
made you
Yeah.
decide to go food truck, and what are the
Food,
other things that you're doing?
food truck. Capital wise, to my background is fine dining, and for what I wanted to get was, yeah, a lot of, I think almost 300,000. Like I said, capital wise, food truck is much cheaper, but don't get me wrong, it's gonna cost some money, but it's more attainable than a brick and mortar. And I think that's the biggest reason why I went the food truck route. And catering. Once again, my background is really fine dining and catering. I personally, that's not me. I'm not a catering chef, and the food truck, like I said, capitalized, and I wanted to have my own business. I got kind of tired, working up under a lot of other chefs. I worked at a lot of great restaurants in Colombia, a lot of higher end. Loved it, learned a lot, but it was my time to to go out on my own and cook my own food that I wanted to do.
So you mentioned budget being a big
Yeah.
consideration,
Yes.
which I agree with you. You can get into a food truck for a heck of a lot less than brick and mortar. Even if you lease a brick and mortar,
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
it's a lot less. How did you get your? I mean, what was the deal with getting your first truck? Was it a trailer? Was it a
It, it
truck? Was it? Did you have to go out and find something, modify it, or did
well
you get
well
it turnkey or what?
well with me, Jim, man, it was one of those things that it was, I guess, God, man. It was me, my wife, and the kids in the car one day. It was on North Main. The food truck is located on North Main. Unfortunately, we don't have it anymore. Mechanical differences happened to it about 2 weeks ago. But we was at one point we just driving around. We just seen the food truck just sitting there, and we pulled into the gas station. My wife is she's a people person. She loves to talk to people, and people are drawn to her. So she hopped out the car. It's funny. I wanted hot dogs. I wanted hot dogs, and just so happened, me being a fine, high end chef, I eat everything. And gas station hot dogs, right? But my wife went there. 10 minutes later, she came back in the car and said, "Hey, you want to do business with us? You want to rent, rent the food truck out to us?" So we rented the food truck, but the food trailer, and from there was history.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So tell
Yeah.
me about one or two pitfalls that you experience in, I guess, starting your business up, and some kind of challenges,
Um.
when you get into the food truck business.
Honestly, I mean, it wasn't too, you always hear a lot about DHEC and a lot of the paperwork and the fire marshal. That was, wasn't too bad. That wasn't too, I didn't really have a bad experience with that. I turned my paperwork in to get my food license, you know, and get my food peddler license and stuff like that. It was fairly easy. You know, the fire department, fire chief got back to me a couple of days. He was a real nice guy. D-Heck was, you know, D-Heck was really good to me. But for me, my biggest pitfall was, I think, but I was my own worst enemy. I wanted to put everything under the menu. I wanted, like, you know, I come from this. I want to put this on the menu. I want to do this and that. And, you know, come to find out, you know, it's a little bit different between being a chef and a chef/owner, you know, because not everything falls on me, you know, so I just can't worry about one or two dishes. I have to worry about the whole menu. I have to worry about my taxes. I have to worry about my propane. I have to worry about, you know, so I guess me, I was my worst enemy. I think my biggest pitfall was I had to, you know, simplify my menu, and I had to stop doing too much now, because it's a lot more hats that I have to wear. Because like, so it's for to me, I think out of everything with the food truck and everything, I think the biggest pitfall, like I said, one of my biggest bumps in the road was me.
Yeah, that happens with a lot of us, isn't it?
Yeah. And you know, being a chef, man, you know, and being my first business, so I wanted to, you know, because my motto was, you're getting beautifully executed food out. You're not getting food truck food. You're getting beautifully restaurant executed food out of a food truck. So I wanted to, you know, go all out, and come to find out, you know, hey, I'm gonna kill myself doing this. So yeah.
So what you said you were on North Main? Is that
Yes.
that location, like a fixed location that you stop at consistently, and you've got some other places that you rotate through?
Yeah, that was a fixed location. Stayed there, and that's another big was it a big bump in the road for a lot of food trucks too, is finding that property to set up at and finding permission to set up at. That's one bump in the road that food truck owners have to look at. So, but it was a permanent spot, and there. Mm-hmm.
Which commissary do you work out of?
Actually, I used one of my friends' commissary kitchens. Congaree Milling Grits. I had used, you know, thankfully he had let me use his kitchen. And that's another downfall too of a lot of food trucks. Unfortunately, there's only one commissary kitchen in Columbia, the Dare Kitchen. I tell people, if you're looking for a commissary kitchen, you know, there's a lot of churches that have commercial kitchens. There's VFWs that have commercial kitchens. So I had used his, then I used a VFW commercial kitchen.
Yeah. So I got another. I'm reading through some of these questions too. People are sending me. Going back to your location, on North Main, how did you go about securing that location?
Once again, Jim, man, it was, you know, I'm not a religious man. I'm a spiritual man. You know, and I believe in God, but it was all God, man. Like I said, me and the kids and wife in the car, and just so happened the food truck owner had owned the gas station, and he let us, you know, for what was paying for rent, he just let us have that property.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was like I said, it was a blessing in disguise.
It works out like that a lot of times, but you know, I think part of it is just being out there too, you know, and talking with people and letting them know that what you're trying to do, and then opportunities arise like that too.
And with me, Jim, I also tell a lot of people to talk to people, man. I mean, what's the worst thing to say? No. I mean, you know, I went around a lot of restaurants, you know, asked me, hey, can I rent your kitchen? Now I got a lot of no's, you know, I got 1,000 no's and one yes. So, you know, don't be scared to go out there and talk to people. You know, hey, this is my dream, and ain't nobody else gonna, you know, fight for your dream but for yourself. So yeah, talk to people.
That's true. So I got a question here that's one of mine, and also it's been put up here about your food. They're asking, well, what's your favorite food? But my question also is, I see that your niche is Puerto Rican cuisine.
Yeah.
Which I know you need to have something that, you know, that's special that people want, you know?
Well, for me,
tell us about your food.
It's Afro Puerto Rican. I cook high-end Nouveau Latino food with a lot of Italian and French influences. My favorite, for myself, my favorite thing to do is I love pasta. To me, it lets me do my creativity. I love pasta and I love baking. If I had to pinpoint one thing, if I had to, it's hard. It's hard. I love it, man.
What's your what's your most popular seller?
Most popular seller has to be my empanadas. If I my empanadas, I make my own discos. I make my own dough. It's called a pâte boussée. A pâte boussée basically is a French style off buttery dough, and my filling is can be a mixture of lechon, which is my roasted pig, or ground beef. But I say my empanadas, and yeah, that's probably my highest selling. That's one of my favorite things to make too.
And was there any like strategy behind your menu design? Obviously, you have your cultural flair, you know, Puerto Rican flair, which could really attract people. But did you think about making a small menu, big menu, things that are easy and quick to, you know, put out the window, or how about that?
Yeah, with that gym trial and error, like you know, like once again, you know, coming from my background, and you know, I wanted to go all out, and you know, hey, this is a food truck. You know, at the end of the day, this is not a 4-star, 5-star restaurant. You know, so trial and error, stuff that can be picked up quick. You know, you don't want to cut corners on a lot of stuff, but you still want to put out great quality tasting food. So I guess it's basically came off what can I produce being a one-man team. You know, my wife ran the front, you know, I did all the cooking, so I had the basic menu that I can do myself, and I can be happy with, and I can put out great food. So trial and error, basically, and me being burned out.
It's a lot of work, and that leads me into the next question, right? So you can kind of explain to the audience what goes into operating a food truck. So tell me about a day in the life operating a food truck. Wake up in the morning, getting prepped, getting everything going to the location, and all that good stuff.
Yep. Day in the life starts around. I'm an early bird. Starts around 7 for me. Like to get up at 7. Go to the food truck, have my hour of peace. I go in the food truck, sit down, see what I need. Usually I have a prep list that night, or do a prep list that morning, and just start prepping my stuff. From 7 to 11. I start prepping from lunch service that was from 11 to 5. So so basically my biggest was prepping and
you're usually in production about 6 hours a day where you're serving.
But it starts, but it's a long day. It's usually about a 14-hour day. Like I said, get up at 7 in the morning, prep, and after dinner service around 5, wash everything up, and if I have to prep anything, prep it that night, or if I have to fill my propane tanks up or stuff like that. So it's long days. It's long days. Paperwork.
So you out? Is your truck out 5 days a week, 6 days a week?
We were out for 5 days a week. It was out from Monday through Saturday.
Okay. But you're at your main location how many times, and when do you move around, or do you move around?
Actually, like I said, I stayed in that position the whole time. That was on that part of North Main was heavy foot and car traffic. So there was really no reason for me to move around too much, because also in that area too, it was nothing to eat. So once again, God had blessed me with that spot. I mean, in a 6-mile radius, there was no food around there. So it was a blessing with that. So I stayed in that area, and just basically me working at a commissary kitchen and prep stuff, bring it there, cook, clean. And if I have to prep any more stuff that night, I prep it and start all over again.
So tell us a little bit. You mentioned some of the fun paperwork, right?
Yeah.
So what does that entail? Like some marketing, social media posts about where you're going to be, accounting, or what?
Well, paperwork. You want to first, of course, get your business license, your food peddler license. That's not too much money. I think it's $200. Then you have to find a commercial kitchen. I think the biggest thing is finding a commercial kitchen. you have to, operate any type of food truck in Colombia, and I think in every state you have to go to their health department and pass that inspection. After that, the fire marshal. You gotta make sure you have to have your fire extinguisher. Your fire system and your vent system correct to avoid any fires. And another thing, marketing too. That was brand new for me. Even though I'm only 35, I'm still new to the social media, thing. So that was a big new thing for me, was social media marketing on Facebook, Instagram. Taking pictures is a big thing. Taking beautiful pictures of your food, placing on Facebook. Yeah.
Do you find you get responses to your Instagram and social media posts?
Yeah. Luckily enough, my wife is very popular, and she's really good with social media. So once we posted stuff, we got hit up pretty good. You always want to post stuff. Always tell people, and once again, chefs, we chefs, we have egos. I mean, I'll be out front with you. All chef has an ego. But I love what I do, and we kind of live off people. We get our happiness off people. So I make sure I take beautiful pictures, put it on Facebook so people can see the food and come. They eat with our eyes first, right? So, that's a big important, aspect of the food truck world. You want to have a good social media presence.
Yeah, I agree. You got to let people know, especially in the true food truck industry, where you're going to be if you're moving around. Any.
Mm-hmm. And take advantage of it, because Facebook and Instagram is free. Back in the day, people will pay thousands of dollars for that type of marketing. So it's free. So take advantage of it. Twitter is really big. Twitter is really big for food trucks. All social media is big for food trucks. So take advantage and really look into your social media.
So I got another question here about. Do you ever get any assistance or help from local or state government, or maybe any other resources?
Jim, I did it all by myself. My wife and I, we grind hard. We didn't get any help from nobody. We just did it ourselves. Maybe we could have, but I didn't really have time to look into that stuff. I mean, it was straight, straight go for it. So, I did everything for myself, man, and honestly, and it's not that expensive, man. I tell people, go for it. If you got the little bit of capital you can start, why not go for it? Go for your dreams, man.
So tell me a little bit about the changes you made after the pandemic hit. Were you operating different before then, and anything changed because of COVID?
No, not really. Of course, wearing the gloves and the mask in the truck, that's kind of, well, we always wore gloves, wearing, the mask in the truck, that's what's new, but not really, because the food industry is kind of pivoting. I think, a lot of fine dining was kind of almost not dying out, but, that fast casual kind of pick up, really good food was kind of, I think that was the new wave for the culinary world anyway. And I think, COVID just kind of, moving along faster. So I would say yes and no, and yes and no.
I think you were in a unique position in that you didn't have to necessarily close down like the brick and mortar restaurants.
Yeah. And with that being said too, Jimmy, that's also a blessing for me too. It sucks for a lot of the operators that had a brick and mortar, but guys like me, we're in a special position that, we didn't lose that money. We didn't lose anything. So I was kind of in a, like you said, in a special position where I didn't lose anything, fortunately.
Okay, we got some more questions here. Sarah's asking, roughly how much funding do you need to start up a food truck, you think?
Well, I would say probably at least 25 to 30,000. I think that's fair to get a decent. You also can get a used food truck. Actually, go for a trailer. Trailers are much cheaper, and also trailers. that they got that added factor in out of trucks. So, a lot of trucks have motor issues, that they can break down. So I would say to look for a nice size trailer get your trailer with all your food, with everything. I would say probably about 15,000. Let's do 15,000 for a trailer. That's including all your certifications. That's including at least your first 2 months of food and your propane and stuff like that. So I would say 15,000.
Yeah, I kind of looked through the internet when I was researching for this webinar, and you can get trailers, used ones, at a fairly
5,000.
decent price. You get a new one for 15,000.
Yep.
That's all equipped and ready to go.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But you got to start thinking about, like you said, inventory and, and commissary rental fees if you have those, and some of that other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So Sunita is asking, are you planning to buy your own truck in the future, or is the rental model working well, allows you to focus on food and customers? What kind of requirements do you ask from the owner?
Mm-hmm. Well, with me and my wife looking to get a brick and mortar. I sat down with my wife, and like I said, I enjoyed doing the food truck, but I have to have a brick and mortar to do what I really want to do. So brick and mortar. And what was the other part of the question, Jim?
Yeah, she was just asking about renting versus purchasing. Actually, but
it's one of those things. I was in once again, a special spot. We really don't see too many, companies where you can rent a food truck at. I was just one of those things that it was right time, right moment. Like I said, food trailer. Like me and Jim was saying, it doesn't take a lot of money to get a food trailer up. So I would say just buy your own.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense for you to, with a chef background, you're probably limited in a food truck model.
Yeah.
Because food truck, fast, kind of a fairly simple menu. Get them out there quick. Where if you're really chef and you have an art, and not that you can't do that out of a food truck, but you have more tools. Setting. For stuff like that.
Well, good thing for me, Jim. Like I said, it made me learn the business side, because once again, it's different between being a chef and a chef owner. So it really, I learned, and I needed that. Being in this industry for 10 years, I can cook all day with my eyes closed. When it comes to that business side, that was a whole new beast to me. So it made me learn, how to run a business that, instead of me running the business and getting a loan for $200,000 and I'm losing it because I ran the business into the ground.
So Andrew's asking what your toughest challenge is that you face in ownership, and how did you overcome it?
My toughest challenge, I think and this is for me, was myself, my confidence, that I can go out there and own my own business. It was scary, especially with the pandemic going on. It was like, oh man, I'm a damn, excuse my language, I'm a fool for starting, especially a food business in a pandemic. So for me, it was myself and my confidence of believing in myself and investing that money into myself.
Okay. Did you have any formal business training? I know you had the military training, but you mentioned that business you had to learn a little bit. And did you do a business plan or anything like that?
Yes, I did a business plan. I don't have any type of ownership background or business background ever before. I just studied my behind off. I read a lot. There's a small business association you can talk to. There's a lot of resources out there that you can get some information on. Like I said, talk to people. It doesn't hurt to, go talk to people. Talk to some restaurant owners. What's the worst can happen? You say no. But it was more, Jim, learn on the fly. Just learn on the fly. That's how I learned too. I got to go throw right in the fire, and that's how you learn.
Yeah, you're right about that. I would agree. I mentioned right in the beginning that I owned a restaurant for 7 years. So I know what you're talking about.
Yes.
A few more questions. Yeah, somebody asked earlier if there was a food truck association in South Carolina. I did not think that there was. I know that there's a restaurant and lodging association.
Yes, yes, yes,
Um,
yes.
but do you think that could be an asset within this industry now?
Yeah, I think so. Cause right now, you know, food trucks are that's the new thing right now. Cause people still eating, and of course, you know, people still got to eat. And I think people want something different than McDonald's and pizza. You know, so I think it will help a lot of us out. Cause like I said, it's a lot. I think I talked to a guy at DHEC. This been I think it's over 40 or 50 food trucks in Columbia alone now. So it would help a lot of these guys out. Guys like me that, you know, just learn on the fly.
Okay. I actually know the one of the VPs up there at the restaurant association. I'll have to mention maybe they can have a food truck division or
Yeah.
something like that for extra help for y'all folks.
And that's awesome too, because like, you know, we are small business owners. I'm really big on you know, people support mom and pops. You know, small businesses is the lifeline of America. You know, I don't want to get too political, whatever, but small businesses are the lifeline of America, and we need to support that. You know, Walmart and Target, those big business guys, they're not going anywhere. But the mom and pops, those are real ones that have heart and soul. Yeah, you can go to McDonald's or Burger King and get a BS hamburger, but you go to this mom and pop, you know, guy that grinds his own beef, that lives in your neighborhood. You know, you support somebody special.
Yeah, I'm with you totally. Last question,
Yes, sir.
and we'll leave everybody with this. What are your 3 tips to being successful in the starting a food truck? 3 tips
3 tips
that you would give somebody.
that I would give somebody. Believe in yourself. You know, really, you know, that sounds so cliche, but you got to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, you're going to fail anything you do. Make sure to believe in yourself. Second one is you got to be a hard worker. I mean, once again, that sounds cliche too, but I think it's basic tips in life in general. Believe in yourself, be a hard worker, because it's hard work. It's hard work, but it's rewarding work too. You know, you get to see smile on people's face. You get to put yourself on a plate, and you know. And the third one would be know how to cook. You know, really, before you invest your money in that, you know your dishes, what you really want to do, and have a concept. You know, make sure to do a business plan. You know how to cook, and know your food.
People come back for the food, don't they? That's one of the
Yes,
big
yes.
things.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the main things. Like I said, you know what you know, have a concept, know how to cook, and know your menu, know what you want to put out, and that's it. I mean, and those 3 things right there, Jim, you be success, man. You know. So
Well, Hector, I appreciate you coming on today.
thank you guys. I appreciate you guys.
Like I was
You guys made my
mentioning
day today.
right before you hopped on, you know, we do a lot of trainings and workshops and stuff, and but nothing is better than having like an actual small business person on talking
Yeah.
about the grind of how they, you know, run their business and whatnot, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
nothing can replace that. So we really
Yes, of course.
appreciate you coming on talking about your business.
I appreciate you guys, man, and I appreciate, you know, everybody that wants to get in the culinary world. Like I said, it's a beautiful business. We may be taking a hit right now, but at the end of the day, it's going to get better. And go ahead and get into it right now before it start booming again. Because right now is, you know, rent is cheap. People still eating, so go ahead and get into it now before, you know, like I said, economy's going to get better. But it's go ahead and take advantage of it now.
Yeah, so I'll leave you with somebody mentioned in the Q&A here. Go like Hector's Facebook page. I actually brought it up while we were talking. Or
Facebook
your
page.
Instagram, and
Um,
go see Hector over on North Main.
Thank you, guys. The Bodega Kitchen and Jawhead Artisan Bakery, and every Wednesday I'm at Pinehurst Community Farmers Market, selling some of my beautiful French pastries.
Awesome. All right, well, Hector, I'm gonna go forward with the rest of the presentation here. We appreciate it. You can hang on and see what I have to say, or I know if you're real busy and you have to jump off, that's fine too.
All right, awesome. Thank you, guys. You guys have a blessed week and stay safe out there, Jim. Talk to you later.
All right, take care. Okay, so let's see here. I have some more information, which some of y'all threw a couple more questions out there that I may be able to answer in this upcoming section. In the agenda, I mentioned there was three more parts I was going to go over after we talked with Hector. But one is startup considerations, and I got a quote here: "If you can dream it, you can achieve it." That goes back to what Hector's saying, right? If you set your mind to it, just do it, right? Just go out there and try to live your dream. We're all going to have ups and downs and hit roadblocks, but that's just life. If you want to try to achieve some things, you're going to have to be able to get through the troubled times and get there. And usually it's worth it in the end. So some startup considerations here. And honestly, these apply to a lot of businesses. So these are not unique to the food truck business. But the first thing is feasibility. Feasibility is, does it make sense for you right now at this time and date to start a food truck? And that might have to do with your financial situation. If you've saved any money, if you have access to funds. We talked about, $15,000 or more or less to start a food truck. I mean, can you come up with that money? And can you come up with funds um, to get you through with some operating costs and stuff like that? And is the market right for where you are? I actually cover a big rural area out of my office. And if I was to start a food truck in, let's just say, Allendale County, might have a little bit more trouble, if I was to go to Richland or Lexington County. Although Hector mentioned that there's 40 food trucks in the Columbia area, right? So you're gonna have more competition, but I mean, there's more people, and if you have a good model set up, then you should be able to compete, hopefully. So anyway, I mean, just looking at it as into, is it feasible? And is it something that you need to jump in full time? Or is this something you can do as a second job and kind of ease into, right? Maybe it's a weekend thing, or, maybe you have odd hours at your current job and you can, fit in other hours on a food truck without having to jump in full tilt into the food truck industry, and really would just work on building your reputation, which is extremely important in the food truck industry, reputation. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Unique value proposition. Hector mentioned that you got to have, it kind of starts with the food. You got to have a menu. You got to have an idea or concept that is different from, something down the road. Like, you're not going to be able to pull off maybe a Puerto Rican cuisine like Hector, right? You have to find your own way and your own thing that sets you apart. We'll talk a little bit more about that. We'll talk more about startup cost and, business structure. This is going back to the idea of having a business plan before you get into all this. And I would highly recommend business plan because it really makes you sit down and think about all the aspects of what you're getting into. And it creates a roadmap for success, and you can set up milestones to figure out, if your idea of success is being achieved, right? If you're not setting up those matrix and goals, based on your values in the beginning, then you don't know if you're getting down the road anymore, right? Obviously, you're going to have financial milestones and goals, but you should really have more than that, right? But your business structure, I mean, it kind of all starts with, figuring out if you want to be a sole proprietor, or if you want to be an LLC, if you're going to have business partners. So depending on, the approach, you really need to think about business structure, and going through the business planning, process will help you do that. And then lastly, we'll talk a little bit more about permits and licenses. So the unique value proposition, UVP, I mean, you have to consider this if you're going into the food truck business. So you see down below, I got Hector's truck down there, and he's got a very unique proposition to his customers in that he brings that ethnic flair, Puerto Rican flair that we might not all be familiar with. And folks are always, remember in one of those statistics in the beginning, it talked about food trucks are new and interesting. Um, so the fact that the Puerto Rican food and that cultural taste that he brings is something unique, and we want to experience it. And then obviously, if you can prepare that good, you're going to come back for more, right? But you got to draw people in with interest to begin with as a part of your marketing um, in setting up, your whole business. Marketing is hugely important, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. In this top left hand, you see there's donuts, right? Hot, fresh donuts. So their pull or their proposition is, sugary donuts that everybody loves, right? I've seen ones with the mini donuts, usually always a line there. Um, you know, so you have to figure out where are you going with your food truck? I mean, is it sweets like donuts, or is it like top right? Is it local food, right? So that's kind of their niche or their uniqueness is it's a matter of taste. Certified SC. So they're going to be selling the food made with local products from probably a local farm down the road, right? So that's what they built is their unique proposition, right? And so you want to come, maybe you feel like you support farmers, maybe the menu's good and you like the food too. And then lastly, down below on the bottom right is a food truck with the vet chef, which is similar to Hector. Hector's a Marine veteran, but this is a vet chef, and his hook is Southern California Mexican. So he does a SoCal burrito roll, which actually is has the meat, a sauce base, and it has French fries in the roll. When you roll it up, it's huge, right? So he kind of built the business around the SoCal roll. But that's the hook for his business. You get in there, you get a lot of food, it's quick, and it fills you up. So that's part of your business plan, and and your marketing plan is to sit down and figure out, okay, what is my what's my model, and what is my value proposition to the customer. Why are they going to come here? What's unique about my business? Why are they going to, if there's four food trucks lined up, why are they coming to my truck instead of to the It's a Matter of Taste truck? So that's something you have to figure out. We talked about startup costs here. This is another consideration. If you're going, you need to know how much you're going to have to invest in the business, right? And so I just kind of made a quick mock-up of a startup cost here. And you see the trailer there. I found that online for $12,500 brand new. And if y'all can see, it doesn't have all the equipment included, but it's been customized with the door and the window and all this kind of stuff, so that you can then go in and put whatever equipment you need in there. But yeah, and that's brand new, so you can find used stuff out there. But I think somebody mentioned in the chat that if you're going to buy a used trailer, just like buying a used car, there might be some issues that come with it, right? You're buying the last person's problems, possibly. And then you just want to make sure that if you were buying a used trailer that, DHEC is going to pass DHEC inspection. And it's going to be something that DHEC will allow. So you couldn't go wrong with new, but you could probably save a considerable amount of money in finding a used trailer that is workable. But yeah, in here I put like 8,000 in equipment, labor, which would be some working capital possibly that would get you through X amount of months. I put 3 months there. You got gas to start off with, your propane, maybe some business insurance, some supplies like some plates and cups and stuff like that. Getting all your permits and licenses. He had mentioned, your DHEC license, maybe if you get the LLC, those type things. ServSafe certification, there's going to be a cost to that. we'll talk a little bit more about that. Inventory, you got to make your first order of inventory. Commissary rental, he mentioned the commissary. You know, unless you got a real good buddy that is just going to let you use their kitchen for free, it's going to have a cost to it. So you need to figure out, you know, how much is that going to cost you in the long run. And also you may have to pay to park your truck somewhere. Hector mentioned that he's on North Main. You know, if you want to find kind of a permanent or semi-permanent home for your truck where there's some consistency, you may have to pay for that spot. And also you may have to see if it's zoned and allowed for you to park it there, right? So those are some startup considerations. And in this startup, you know, that's $30,000. You know, he mentioned $15,000 to get into it, and you probably could get into it for $15,000 if you're real, you know, you're looking around for deals and just thinking about it real closely. And so yeah. Somebody also asked here, I will be sending out these this presentation and the slides to all the registered attendees afterwards. So startup costs, permits, and licenses. Let's talk a little bit about that. Yeah, your first thing you got to consider is your DHEC permit, right? And let me go over here to, this is DHEC's website. So this is the information on their website for their mobile food units. So you can see under here some of the requirements are the commissary. You have to be attached to the commissary. That's kind of the key thing. And Hector mentioned several options for commissaries. One being a commercial kitchen, which I don't think y'all have. I don't know how many commercial kitchens y'all have in Columbia, but I don't think it's a whole lot. But then you can also make an agreement with a current restaurant, right? Because they have a kitchen and they might not even been using that kitchen, you know, 24/7, right? Like when I owned my restaurant, it was a deli. So we opened at 11 and we closed at 6. So from up to 11 o'clock and after 6 o'clock, my kitchen was never being used. So I probably would not have had an issue with sharing the kitchen with, you know, a food truck person, you know, back when I was operating, because, you know, we'd come up with some agreement to, you know, to payment and whatnot and how much. And anyway, but yeah, he mentioned churches as well, because, you know, churches have commercial kitchens. But yeah, that's something you'll have to identify and find. And, you know, that's one of the hurdles you'll have to jump to do that. Another hurdle is your food safety certification. So DHEC is going to require that you have a food safety manager certification. A lot of you might know it as ServSafe. So I brought it up here. This is just their website, servsafe.com. If any of y'all were in the food industry, then you should be familiar with ServSafe and the food certification, which now you can actually get the certification online, and you can get the exam proctor online. We used to actually do these at the university. I arranged for them to come down to Orangeburg, you know, twice a year, and we did it for several years until it's become a little bit more widespread. But this is going to be another cost, and, you know, another training that you have to keep up and maintain. But it is extremely important. Back when I was in the restaurant business, we didn't have to have this. DHEC always recommended we had food safety training, but it wasn't, you know, mandatory. But now it's pretty much mandatory. And you can't operate a business without it. So it's something to consider. And you can see some other requirements here. Obviously, you have to put in an application for the permit. And if you are going to work with another restaurant, a current restaurant, and use them as their commissary, you're going to have to, that restaurant is going to have to submit an application to DHEC to basically say that it's okay, or to allow them to share their kitchen, right? So that's another piece of paper that has to go through. You got to have some hand washing sinks in there. Only single use utensils, bowls, plates, so forth. So on service, customer service, and unpackaged food is prohibited. Got to have a water source. And a lot of times that water source comes from your commissary. It has to be approved. It says water capacity. Each water storage system must have at least 5 gallons or greater on the truck, which is not too difficult. I mean, back when I was in business and we did pop-up, restaurants at like festivals or whatnot, your water source was a 5-gallon, 5-gallon water bucket or water container. And then you could just set up your own little hand washing station and everything, just kind of a mock thing. But you probably want something a little nicer than that in the truck. And I'm sure they would accommodate for it. But you got to have some wastewater storage, and you have to have wastewater disposal, which is where the commissary comes in. So if you have water and or oil that you have to dispose of, generally the commissary will allow you to dump your water and dump your oil. The other big thing is that your mobile food unit must return to the commissary after each day of operation and be stored on site at the commissary. So, so you're supposed to leave your truck there at the commissary. So, if whoever you agree to work with commissary, you have to figure out parking too. And if you can leave the truck there overnight and whatnot. And then, of course, you all know DHEC has to inspect you. And, historically, DHEC does pop, inspections where it's, not scheduled. But with the food truck, they may have to request it because you may not be in the same location each time, or you may not be operating, every day of the week. But they will have to come do inspections. And if you're somewhere consistently, they'll probably just pop in on you, because that's how they get you, and to make sure that you're doing everything, correctly. If you're prepared for it, you can be on your best behavior, so to speak. But if they pop in, then, if you're not doing things how you should do it, then they might catch you and educate you. DHEC's job is to educate you, right? Protect the public, number one, make sure the food is safe. And then for the business, their job is to educate you and teach you how to provide safe food. So they're not there to be bad guys or anything like that. They just want to make sure that everything is properly done. So that you got your permit, you're going to have to get, if you're going to sell food, you have to have a South Carolina retail license, $50, one-time fee, never have to do it again. That enables you to pay your sales tax to the state and local government. So you have to collect sales tax and then pay it back to them. And depending on where you're located, you may have, county or municipal taxes. So in the case of where I am in Orangeburg, you're going to have a 1% local option sales tax. And then if you relocate the truck inside the city limits, you'll have a 2% hospitality sales tax. So you add all that together, and that's 9% that you would have to pay to, you'd actually pay 7% to the state. They collect for the counties, and then you'd have to pay, in the case of the city of Orangeburg, 2% directly to the city. So you'll have to do your research on that, and that gets down to your local business license. So if you're going to set your truck up in the city, you're probably going to you will have to have a city business license. So if you're in, the city of Columbia or the city of Lexington or the city of Orangeburg, I can guarantee you will have to have a license and permissions. And there will probably be, sales tax that you'll have to collect for those cities as well. And that gets to the paperwork that you have to keep up with. that sometimes we forget about in operating the business, right? So it's not just, showing up and serving people food. There's gonna be a lot of other things. So I mentioned food safety certification already. That would be another requirement as well. So let's see here, a couple questions. When you say South Carolina retail license, are you referring to the sales tax permit? Yes, I am. That is the sales tax permit that allows you to collect and pay sales tax. And let's see, okay. So marketing, let's talk about marketing a little bit. Get it out fast, fill them up, keep quality focus. That's a quote. When you're in a food truck, speed is important because, you're only there for a certain amount of time, trying to get as many people through as you can, and fill them up. When it comes to the menu design, a lot of folks don't like to leave hungry, especially a food truck, right? Value, I think, is a big issue in food truck. It's not fine dining per se. It's, food, fast, filled up, and quality, right? Something that they like, right? It's got to be good food. So marketing, like I mentioned, is something that, in planning, you have to design your business. And a lot of that revolves around the marketing of your business. And y'all may have heard of the 4 P's of marketing or the 6 P's of marketing. I'll just go through these real quickly to give you an idea of some things to think about in terms of the food truck and your marketing. So place and location, that's the beauty of a food truck, right? Is that you can change locations if one's not working out very well for you, right? So in a lot of businesses, if you're in a brick and mortar, well, you're stuck in that location. If something happens to, in that part of the town, you have to bring people to you, right? So, if you're in a truck, then you can move around to different markets, to different cities. You probably have a limit to the radius from your commissary, because, if your commissary is in Walterboro, then you don't necessarily want to be driving all the way to Columbia, which is an hour and a half, 3 hours both ways. But, if you go to the Charleston market, then you're like, Somerville may be 30 minutes, Charleston might be 45 minutes. And if you're in Walterboro, boom, right, not that far. So you need those considerations too about your location of your commissary, right? So place is very important because the farther you have to go to the market that you're seeking, the more cost that's going to drive up from fuel to time and other things like that. So keep that in consideration. You have to go where the people are with food trucks. That's the whole concept. And there's some different strategies as to, working with industries and going to maybe big manufacturers or plants or big employers, let's say. We have an employer here in Orangeburg, Husqvarna, and they employ anywhere from 2,000 to 2,500 people, depending on the season. They're up and down, but you go park out in front of Husqvarna, there's 2,000 employees, right? How many tickets do you need to have a good day in a food truck? Maybe 100. If you had 100 tickets that average $10 a ticket, that's like $1,000. So that'd be a pretty good day. And that's something else you want to think about. I mean, if you're going somewhere and you're processing, 15 tickets or 30 tickets, I mean, is that a place you want to keep going back to? Festivals can be good and bad. You can have a real good day at a festival, or it might rain that day. Or, you might go one year to a festival and there's you and like 1 or 2 other food trucks. You might go the next year and there's 10 food trucks. So location's very important to think about, and it's a huge strategy to food trucks. One more idea behind location And somebody was telling me about this. There's a place in Chapin. I can't remember the name of the it's not a restaurant. They serve beer. They're a brewery, but all they do is serve beer and wine, right? And then they have food trucks come. And the food trucks are there to serve the food. So, they sell beer and wine. That's where they make their money. And then people can come eat, from the food truck, and they can kind of rotate out different food trucks to give variation to their business. But that's what you would call a strategic alliance, where you came in with this brewery and you kind of, contracted with them and worked with them to set up your food truck business there. And it kind of works to the benefit of both of you. So that's another idea behind place. Product, this is where we get into your value proposition. And, in food, a lot of your value is centered around the food itself and what you're serving, because it's got to be unique, quality, and all that, good portion sizes, especially in the food truck. And the service aspect is very important. It's called food service for a reason, right? You got the food and you got the service. So how can you create a product that people love and want to come back and keep getting it, right? A lot of different combinations and models you can use to try to create that product that people really like. The service could be, it could be the time. If it takes 30 seconds for you to get like a good meal, and then you're gone about your way, that's part of the product. That's like, it's fast. You know what I'm saying? I go there, I know I got it and gone. I don't have to wait. I got food. I actually did an online order to a restaurant this week. Went down there when they told me it was supposed to be ready, because they sent you a notification, and waited an additional 40 minutes. That didn't speak to their quick service. It might have damaged their brand a little bit, but they do have really good food. So it kind of makes up for it. And I didn't have anywhere to be. But if I did, it might have been an issue. But anyway, got to think about product. Price, food, price and food. People are real price point conscious with food, especially depending on the quality. With food trucks, when you go to a nice restaurant, white tablecloth restaurant, you pay for the experience, the environment, just as much as you pay for food sometimes, right? Food trucks, you don't have the environment luxury unless maybe if you're at a park or something like that, and the environment is, or on a river, or maybe, there's some, aspect of where you can pay extra for the environment. But for the most part, food trucks are like quick service, get it out, good value to your food, right? So really got to think a long time about price and your price point. People, they don't feel like, they're getting a value, they don't come back, right? So quality, speed, and portion size are all considerations that affect price too, because you have to consider your costs and your cost of goods that go into what you're doing. Promotion, Hector mentioned, social media as being a driver behind promotion, which, I would recommend. It can be cheap. You do need to pay to play on social media these days. You can try to get an organic reach and, if you get 30,000 followers, you could probably still do pretty good at reaching people, but you still got to pay, because the way they've set up the algorithms on Facebook and Instagram and these other platforms is you got to pay. It's not that expensive. For minimal investment, you can get a pretty good return on promotion through those platforms. And I also mentioned Google in there as well. But one of your biggest forms of promotion, other than your food and kind of the product that you set up, is dependability. Just being there, right? That you're in that same spot all the time on every Thursday or whatever it is. Hector said he's on Main Street, 5 days a week, and that he's at the farmer's market on Wednesdays with baked goods, always there, right? Or somebody calls you to move your truck and come to, something and then you come, and maybe it's not the best event. Maybe you're not doing a lot of tickets, and then, but you don't break down and just leave, right? If you said you're going to be there between 11 and 5, stay there between 11 and 5 because people talk, and if you just got up and left because there wasn't much business, you just don't come back there next time, possibly. So process, I mentioned speed and how you set that up. That's a big part of things. And then people, Hector mentioned burnout a couple times. It sounds like Hector does work it himself a lot and then with his wife. You do need to consider hiring people. If you hire people, strategically schedule them for the most impact. Don't keep them any longer than you need to. Try to do as much as you can on your own as well. And the last section here, operations. So we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. It's a quote from Aristotle. So operations, these are some other things to consider, which a lot of this stuff Hector talked about. This just gives you an idea that it's just not showing up at a location and you're working from 11 to 5, right? There's a lot more to it. He's talking about 12, 14-hour days, getting up at 7 o'clock or 7:30 and, going out and doing things you need to do. So let's see. The first thing is purchasing. This is something you really have to consider. Purchasing. In a lot of businesses and industries, you make money, whenever you buy, right? Because sometimes your prices are a little fixed because of the market. So where do you make money? And efficiencies in the business and when you buy the food. But you can't necessarily skimp on quality either because people know. They understand quality, especially if they're used to eating out. But 30, 35% might be a good food cost ratio for quality fast food. A lot of fast food places are like 20, 25% food costs. But you're talking like you're getting McDonald's and fast food and stuff like that. If you want to try to distinguish yourself and you keep your food costs at 20%, people are going to pick up on that real quick, that your quality is a little bit lower. So you're going to have to sacrifice a little bit on that to probably get a little bit better quality. But you do need to set a range or a threshold of what your food cost percent is. And preparation, you have to have prep time because if you're going to have speed in a food truck, everything needs to be ready to go. And, right at your hand, at your fingertips, so you can get it in, get it out. If you're having to prep as you go, that's going to slow service down. Production, think and rethink how you process your customers. How can you be more efficient? How is your menu aligned? For production.
Well, Jim.
Hector, were you about to comment on something?
I'm so sorry, Jim. I'm sorry.
Okay. So you got to think about production and menu design, and if something's not moving on your menu, taking it off the menu, and bringing on specials and things like that if they catch on, you put them on the menu, and based on what you have on your menu also determines what you have in your inventory. And if you have too much inventory, inventory spoils, there's food waste. So you need to think strategically from, that way. So what, if you could pick 10 items to inventory, what different, products can you make from those 10 items, right? To be efficient. So that's stuff to consider. Clean up after everything's done. Got to clean everything. That's a big part of food is cleaning and going back to your commissary and dumping your water and all this stuff. All this is the added time, plus the production day. Marketing, You got to do that at some point. Maybe your spouse does it, or a friend, or maybe you're doing it at a slow time or whatever. You got to figure that out. And lastly, everybody's favorite activity is accounting, catching up on all those bills and, filling out all the tax returns, sales tax returns, and keeping up with that, and making your deposits, and, all those fun things. And the one thing I like to usually stress is, at the minimum, if you're just a sole proprietor, and you want to keep up with your accounting, the easiest way to do it is, or actually if you're in any business structure, easiest way to do is open a separate business account, right? And run everything that you do through that business account. All expenses, all revenue, income goes to that account. And then at least at the end of the month, you can get a fair assessment of, cash flow. But if you want to get really detailed about your business and understand it, better financially, then you probably need to get into either getting an accounting software that helps you analyze better your expenses and income. You can always contract that out and have a bookkeeper help you with it as well, but you can do it yourself. You can learn to do it. Also, a lot of people are going to use credit cards or debit cards, I should say. So if you have like a Square, if you're using Square, they have great analytics. You can get a lot of financial information and customer information off of the swipes from the card. It's just, you got to pay attention to them, right? You have to go into the Square software and app and look at the analytics and try to determine, hey, most of my sales were between 2 and 3 o'clock, or, the average, swipe was, $15. I was thinking it was more like $10, but it looks like it's 15, So these are metrics that you need to learn to understand that can help you make better, decisions for your business. So the accounting and the financial aspect are big drivers to how you make good decisions on moving forward and growing your business as well. So that's why it's really important. So yeah, I'll say, if you need help also with any of these, you got your SBDCs that are available. And like I mentioned, wherever you are, you can probably find one pretty closely. We have 21 locations around South Carolina. We can help on all aspects of the business and the considerations that I brought up here in starting the food truck. I think that getting into the food truck industry is, people ask me about ideas all the time and opportunities. Or what my opinion is on a certain business or industry. And generally, I have an optimistic outlook for food trucks. I think at this point in time, it's probably a pretty good business model as far as food goes. Everything has its cycles, but you just have to, like Hector said in the beginning, you have to be adaptable and you have to work hard. Nothing's going to come without the hard work and putting in the time and the thought and the planning and doing all this stuff. But if you do all that and you're out there talking with people, opportunities do come and the business will slowly develop. And as your reputation is built, right? Restaurants earn reputations. Hopefully yours is a positive one. That's part of your brand, right? So if you have positive brand equity or good brand, then people are going to come back and they're going to spread the word. People talk. I ate at the Bodega Kitchen. It was awesome. Love this food. Got to go try it. North Main Street. That's how you pick up. That is one of the best ways to pick up a customer, right? So, but you got to be consistent and keep up with the quality and whatnot. So that was a lot we threw at you in about an hour and a half. So I know there's always a lot more questions, and like I mentioned, y'all can just reach out anytime to me, and I can find someone to help you in your area. It's my email address here, and I will be sending the PowerPoint presentation and a recording of this webinar to all the people who registered. So if y'all want to go back and watch it again, you'll be able to do that. And like I said, if you have any other questions, please feel free to send them on. Another thing is, if you're going to need funding to start this business, like I said in the beginning, we work with a lot of people on funding, whether it's just trying to figure out how to fund it out of your own savings, or it's trying to figure out how to approach a bank or a debt funder on getting a loan to fund this. A lot of different ways to do it, you know. So that's what we're here for, the SBDC, to help y'all think through that and work with you to try to be more successful. So does anybody have any other questions at this time? Okay. Oh, well, great. Well, I appreciate everybody attending today, and I hope y'all have a great week and wonderful holiday. And we will hopefully have a great new year too. And these vaccines come through, and you know, everybody can get back to normal and go hug the people that you hadn't hugged in a million years, and talk with people that you hadn't seen in forever. But have a wonderful day, everybody. Take care.